like kind of relating to Spanish heritage. But that's very fitting. All right. So next slide. Okay, so just so you guys know, like the terminology that I'll be using, and like you understand the difference, because I know that in the U.S., like these terms are really like interchanged. Like people use them like referring to the same thing, but they're actually really different. So Hispanic refers to people who are Spanish speakers from Spanish-speaking countries, while Latino refers to those from Latin America who were formerly colonized by Spain and Portugal. So with Hispanic, it's more of a focus on the language, and then with Latino, it's more of a focus on the geography. So for example, someone from Spain is Hispanic, but not Latino, because they speak Spanish, but they're not from Latin America. And someone from Brazil is Latino, but not Hispanic, because they're from Latin America and they're colonized by Portugal. So yeah, that's some terminology for now. And then I will also be using them kind of interchangeably, just because a lot of the statistics that I found from like the government like interchanged them too. So yeah. Okay, so to start off with like a little like fact or figure, about 74% of Latinos in the US have been directly affected by climate change. And so this was a poll made by Earth Justice and Green Latinos in 2015. And this is basically a poll where they interviewed a bunch of Latino voters, and they asked them questions about the environment and like climate change. And so with that, they found that 85% of Latinos believe it's extremely important or very important to reduce smog and air pollution. And they also found that 84% of Latinos say that the US should mandate more clean energy sources like solar and wind power. So overall, the trends show that registered Latino voters have a strong commitment to conservation, the environment, and a genuine interest in how climate change impacts their families and communities. I will be talking about this a little bit more in depth, why and how they're affected, and then some solutions. So to begin, we're going to talk about colonialism in Latin America. This is really important because it kind of basically sets up the long-term effects of what we're facing now. So in the 15th century, there was European colonization, and that basically changed the land, the way the natives lived, and all aspects of life in Latin America. So to begin, in the 19th century, there was a mass increase in population. About 50 million European immigrants came to Latin America, most of those being from Spain and then some from Portugal. And then with that, they brought a lot of disease, you know. They brought diseases like influenza, diphtheria, I don't know if I said that right, measles, smallpox, typhus, and other unknown diseases. And although the facts for this aren't like the statistics for this aren't too accurate, just because it was a long time ago, around 10 million to 2 million people, which is up to 95% of the indigenous population of the Americas, died off within that time period because of the disease that they brought. And with that, there was racism towards indigenous communities. Obviously, the Europeans came in, they took a lot of the indigenous communities' land, along with their culture, and with that, they made them their slaves. And yeah, and then following that came slavery slavery, yeah, with the indigenous communities and then also Africans. So the Europeans brought about 4 million enslaved Africans from Western Africa to Latin America, with 3.5 of those million enslaved Africans specifically to Brazil. And then with that, there was environmental transformation. So there was large scale resource extraction, and that'd be mining. There's also deforestation. And then there's also the expansion of agriculture and cattle ranching. So the indigenous communities, like the Aztecs, they were a non-waste community, so they were completely sustainable. And so, and other communities as well, like most indigenous communities in Latin America. But when the Europeans came in, they basically changed like the way that they the way they did their agriculture into unsustainable practice. And so because of like their imports and exports, and so that ended up changing everything, like since they came there to now. And then also religion, we have Catholicism that took over basically all of Latin America. We had the missionaries, and that eliminated almost all of the indigenous religions, or whatever you want to call them, in the area. All right, so now I'll be talking a little bit about economic inequities in Hispanic communities. So to begin, you obviously know jobs. That was a really hot topic with our last presidency. How quote unquote Mexicans were taking a lot of our jobs, but actually it's not true. Studies show that like Hispanics are one of the most hardworking like ethnic groups, and because of that, we do have like lower paying jobs with less benefits, and because of that, it's more difficult for these Hispanic families to save up money, to have a retirement fund, and to even have money for like extra things like healthcare. So with that, Latino individuals, they suffer from higher unemployment rates and shorter time with their employers. And so, like I said before, they have less time to access any key benefits. And so with that, because Hispanic families tend to have bigger, like more children and larger families, and they also give money to like their extended relatives, it's a lot more difficult for them to do that and to support them, even if they're living with them. And so next would be education. So attaining higher education is not enough to close the racial wealth gap. And that is because about only 17% of Latino individuals receive a 4-year degree compared to 39% of white individuals. And with this, in a study from statistics from 2016 show that Latino people with a college degree had a median net worth of $91,800 compared to $325,600 for white people that also had the same college degree. So you can see like that large gap, like it's a huge, huge, huge gap. And just having that degree isn't enough to completely close it. So going on with that, I'll talk about the wealth gap. So in comparison to white families, the median wealth is, as you can see, and while Latino families only make like way less. And with this, this large wealth gap leaves Latino families economically insecure with fewer opportunities for upward income mobility. And with this, they're unable to obtain higher paying jobs or even more stable jobs, and they have to rely on short-term paying jobs and savings to pay like their daily bills. So yeah, so then I'll move on to some graphs. So as you can see here, this shows the median usual weekly earnings of a full-time wage and salary workers. So this is, excuse me, this is a total over white people, Hispanic or Latino ethnicity, Black people, and Asian Americans. So that's the total. This is the statistics for white people, and this for Hispanics. As you can see down here, compared to the white communities, we get significantly less earnings. And yeah, that's just referencing back to what I talked to about before, the wage gap. And then the next is Hispanic industries and occupations. As you can see, the most popular occupation or industry is construction, and then following that is agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting. And the problem with this second industry is that, like I said before, Latinos, they're heavily impacted by climate change and environmental degradation. So that impacts their industry as well. And it causes them, well, in the long run, to like give them problems finding jobs. Yes.
So also on that graph, like that's only, I'm assuming that's like legally, like based on tax or whatever. Like
yes.
A lot of people in agriculture work under the table.
Yes, exactly. That's like legally like the, I believe it was, yeah, from the U.S. Bureau of Labor. So yeah, under the table jobs not accounted for, but obviously it'd be, I'm pretty sure that number would be a lot higher, probably even surpassing construction.
And I feel like people who don't have papers, they still have to pay for taxes. like they still pay.
Yeah.
True.
Maybe that is like a pretty accurate number.
Yeah, it could be 2. But it was also in 2014, so the number could definitely change. This is the latest statistic I could find. Yeah. So moving on, I'm going to talk about environmental sustainability of Hispanic culture. So like I said before, Hispanics are more likely to experience firsthand effects of environmental degradation and climate change. And with that, sustainability is practiced without us even knowing it. So for Hispanic people, we actually, like it's in our culture to be sustainable. So for example, there's this type of bag, this Mexican bag, that like it's passed within their culture, and they use it to go and like buy groceries instead of using like plastic bags. Like it's made out of a special textile from like a native plant in Mexico. And so also like in Hispanic communities in Latin America, we're more used to buying from local markets instead of going to like a supermarket. And that helps like stimulate like the local economy instead of like buying into like big brands. And on top of that, a lot of our practices also come from, like I said before, like the wage gap and the income inequality, because we do like tend to have lower wages. And then because of that, we do have to be very careful with our spendings. And so like, for example, I don't know about anyone who's Hispanic here, but my mom always yells at me for leaving the lights on to turn them off, or like to like take the plastic bags that we get from the grocery store and to wrap them up and use them for later, or like saving energy by turning the lights off and turning off the TV, or even like not wasting food, like especially my grandma. So excuse me. So yeah. So and because of that, low-income households generally use about 1/5 of the energy of their wealthier counterparts. All right, and then moving on. So we also put a lot of value into conservation, like I said before, conserving energy, and then thus like helping us like save money. So with that, we are cultural environmentalists. It's ingrained into our culture. And like I said before, we we're one of like the first people to see the effects of climate change in our communities, just because of where we live. We usually live in lower income areas. And because of that, most of the Latinos in the US are located in California, Texas, and Florida. And so with that, a lot of the Hispanic, Latino Californians, they experience drought. In Texas, they experience record-breaking heat. And here in Florida, they experience the sea level rise and also the extreme weather changes. Excuse me. And lastly, environmental racism. So environmental racism, by definition, is a form of systemic racism whereby communities of color are disproportionately burdened with the health hazard through policies and practices that force them to live in proximity to sources of toxic waste, such as sewage, works, mines, landfills, power stations, major roads, and emitters of airborne particulate matter. And so the following slide, I have a little quick video that kind of explains this further and how it impacts our community.
Arguably more depressing than climate change itself is the fact that, at worst, there are people who don't believe it's real, or at best, have no interest in working to mitigate its effects. But we're not here to talk about climate change deniers, flat earthers, QAnon, or people who believe Jimmy from Degrassi is in the Illuminati. We don't have time. The polar ice caps are melting, wildfires are burning, the jet streams are being disrupted, all while politicians are playing politics with the planet. And if you were hoping for some silver lining about how lockdowns and social distancing might have curbed our collective carbon footprint,
a huge reduction in nitrogen dioxide, or NO2, over places like China, Italy, and France.
One unexpected effect of this rapid shutdown has been that Venice's typically murky canals are running clear for the first time in years.
why would you do that to yourself? Have you learned nothing from 2020? As people all over the world stayed home to stop the spread of coronavirus, greenhouse gas emissions from energy and transport industries dropped to record lows. Cool, right? We were literally saving the planet, one hand in a bag of Takis, the other on our Instacart apps. But wait, there's more. Even with a small blip of COVID-related reductions, we're still emitting tons of carbon dioxide, which means the effects of climate change are still very much present.
I am the climate editor at Atmos magazine. We're a new climate and culture publication where I'm reporting on environmental justice. Much of my work revolves around reporting on the crisis as it relates to people, as it relates to people of color. For much of the time that the environment has been an issue, it's been treated as something separate from us, right? Something that affects wildlife, something that affects the oceans. People are being impacted now, and the people who are being impacted the most right now are people of color.
Environmental racism, it's such a confusing concept for a lot of people. Like, how can the environment be racist? Can you break down for us what environmental racism actually is?
It's not the environment that's being racist. It's the way that our leaders, who have, long been white older dudes, have created and built our society. It's, for instance, Black and Latinx people are more likely to live near sources of pollution, hazardous waste sites. What people are talking about when they're talking about environmental racism. Who gets access to green space? Who gets access to clean air? And I remember when the pandemic first began, right? I mean, New York was ground zero. So living in New York, I think, has just highlighted, there are some of us who have that luxury of running away and escaping disaster. And there are some of us who have to sit here and brace for impact. The resiliency of the people who live in New York has been incredibly inspiring, and just seeing the way that people have built community throughout all this, throughout the pandemic. If our leaders want to address the climate crisis, they need to listen to the science. Housing is a human right. Part of the reason why they're not doing anything about it on both sides of the aisle is because they're so heavily enmeshed with the fossil fuel industry. We need more regular people in Congress. We need people who are not being funded by these giant corporations.
Thanks for watching Radar 2021. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below, and let us know what issues are important to you. Because let's be honest, there are a lot of issues to choose from. So many. Arguably more
So yeah, that was a little video for explaining environmental racism, and now we'll go into some solutions. So the first solution is ending residential segregation, so it's like gentrification, zoning laws, allowing Hispanic communities to enter into higher income areas without having to pay as much. And then the following is increasing the minimum wage, which is already happening. And then the next would be policy reform. So basically, just a comprehensive policy approach that addresses inequities from childhood through old age, and it's needed to help those to close the racial wealth gap. The next would be increasing access to high quality education. So, that's it. And then, thank you. And then progressive taxation, so taxing the wealthy what they deserve. And what do you guys think are some solutions? There's some proposed solutions that could close the wealth gap, but also make Hispanic communities more resilient and sustainable in today's world. Yes.
I mean, just embracing diversity in general, right? Like you just talked about, Hispanic and Latino culture is very sustainable as it is. So if we can just accept it and let it flourish, then our entire society can be more sustainable.
Agreed, for sure. Anyone else have any ideas on that? Yeah.
I think stuff like that invest in some sort of program to kind of compensate and treat it as a real issue overall for climate change. One of the big things is it's hard to combat just because underdeveloped countries and stuff like that don't have the money and stuff like that to support. But I think pushing governments to invest in those communities is a good way to kind of help.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's really good.
I think that lower level education, let's say K through 12, it should be better, I guess, because I feel like private schools or your schools in richer neighborhoods are of course, gonna have higher quality education. So just making it more equitable in education, and also for degrees, like if you have the same degree as me, like we should be paid, I guess, the equivalent amount. And if we have the same experience, same education, you know, like you shouldn't get paid more just because of your race or ethnic group.
Anyone else?
They should make a law.
Any other ideas or solutions? Yes.
But like, just like our relationship with Mexico as a country, like we stole a bunch of land in Texas and like have chosen actively to like suppress the Mexican, like the entire country of Mexico.
Yeah.
So like, I think trying to fix that relationship and like come to terms with it,
Agreed.
like we have a pretty healthy relationship with Canada. There's no reason, there's no reason, it's just racism, right? By the
Yeah,
way.
it is. We don't have a huge, like, however many foot border, like, line in Canada either. So yeah, I agree. That's a good solution too. All right. So next we'll have a little discussion, and we're going to be talking about what it's like being Hispanic in the field of sustainability. And with that, if I can welcome Jackie and Stefany. If you want, you guys can stand. You can stand if you choose. All right, so first, I'll introduce Jackie. Jackie, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, thank you so much for having me first, everyone, and Dylan Ariel for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here. So a little bit about me. I know some of you already know me. I'm a fourth year majoring in sustainability and the built environment. I'm from Miami, Florida. Ooh, go Fever 5. My family is from Bogota, Colombia, so I'm Spanish, and I'm part of the Hispanic culture, which I'm so proud to be part of. And my experience in sustainability. So I have experience, I know some of you already know, as a project coordinator for carbon solutions. And the way I got that position was really through my class, Sustainable Solutions to the Built Environment. Our whole goal for that class was to create a sustainable mixed-use residential and commercial building. And, you know, when it came time to doing the final presentation, we got to speak with Mark, the owner. And, you know, after the presentation was over, we explained, you know, this beautiful sustainable site that we all designed as a class. I was the only person that stayed after class to speak with Mark, introduce myself, and explain that, you know, I'm interested in a position. So I guess my advice is, you know, we take advantage of the time you have with the people that are coming in to visit your class, because odds are they're trying to hire people or they're trying to recruit one of you to work for their company. I also have experience as a solar consultant with Soul Army. It's a small firm in Miami, Florida. And I got the job during the pandemic. I was going crazy. I was like, I need a job. You know, the pandemic hit. I needed to find a way to support my family and help out and everything. So I got that job. It was pretty good. And I really enjoyed the job because I encouraged homeowners in commercial buildings to switch over to solar energy. I learned some valuable skills like how to create a solar array offset, how to, you know, work with people and try to encourage them that this is really a great solution for them. I also help, you know, I'm the Spanish consultant, really. Like I work with both English and Spanish speakers, but I guess, you know, an advantage of being Hispanic is that I speak both Spanish and English, and I can speak to these Spanish people that want to switch over to solar. I can educate them about the incentives that are available for solar energy, because I feel like not a lot of people know that, especially the Hispanic community. So yeah, I've done that. And, you know, I guess the first 2 years in sustainability, I was really, I guess, unmotivated and discouraged because I went to a career fair and there was not a lot of people that looked like me. There's not a lot of women, not a lot of Hispanic people, but really you have to embrace our culture and say, I speak Spanish too, I'm a hardworking person. And there's more and more jobs available in sustainability now. When I was a freshman and I went and I explained my major, they were like, what is that? they didn't know. And I was like, come on. And then, I started looking online and there's more and more jobs popping up. More and more people are aware and educated about this big issue, climate change is a wicked issue. So there's definitely more careers in this field. It's really exciting. And my advice is how many of you are freshmen or sophomores, juniors? How many of you have experience in the field already? No? Okay, well, that's okay. You're still, you're still all young, it's never too late. But my best advice is to try to get a position in the field that you're really interested in, even if it's not related to sustainability. Try to get a position that can be applicable to something that you're interested in, and apply everywhere. During the pandemic, I had so much free time and I was like, okay, apply to a bunch of positions, see which one paid the most, and started applying, and yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys are interested in getting solar panels, you can take a picture of my business card. And if you also want to connect through LinkedIn, I've gotten a lot of people a position, like a job with Mark. Can get a position in the future, like maybe right now, he can probably hire you if you have experience in that. Well, I can explain more about it. We can talk one-to-one. But yeah, thank you so much.
Okay. And next is Stefany.
Hi, my name is Stefany. Thank you for having me. So my name is Stefany Rosales. I'm from West Palm Beach, Florida, down south as well. And I'm a fourth year in sustainability and the built environment. So when I first started, I was actually a poli-sci major, and I switched over when I was a sophomore because I figured out that I really didn't want to do poli-sci. And then actually one of my professors, he just gave me the guidance, and I was like, wow, without you, I don't even know what I would be doing right now. But I found what I actually liked, which was FPE, and I was able to come in and I was able to learn a lot of stuff. And I thought that school was gonna be a drag, and for me, it's not, because I just love learning about just new ways that we could, implement different stuff into our daily lives that can help the environment. So I really enjoyed doing that. I actually work under Jackie. She's a project coordinator with Mark, and I work under her. So I work in the energy section of the project. And I'm also an intern at the PDC office, which is on campus. Their office is in the stadium. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but we're basically in charge of all the construction that goes on here on campus. And there are literally hundreds of projects that they're doing as of right now, major projects and minor projects. So I feel like it's a really good experience to have if you guys hear, because I'm there for 2 semesters, and they're probably going to need someone in fall of 2022. So if you guys hear about the opportunity, you guys should definitely go ahead and take it. It's a really good experience. It just gives you experience in the field, and just honestly, everything that you learn in class is just just apply again at the work, at my job. So I feel like it's a great experience.
Okay. Next is Stefany. Yes.
So Jackie, I don't touch base with most of their questions, but I think you can elaborate a little bit. So we can start off with Stefany first.
Okay.
So what does sustainability mean to you?
What sustainability means to me, honestly, for me, it's changed over the course of time that I've been studying. But I feel like this semester that I've been learning, I've really grasped an idea of what I think of it. And sustainability to me just means everything that we do on our daily basis. I do also believe that what we have now and just not trying to affect our future generations, but sustainability is implemented in our everyday lives, even though we don't know what we do. So I would definitely say sustainability to me just means everything.
Okay, and Jackie, what does sustainability mean to you?
Sustainability is, a difficult subject, but like Stephanie said, it involves every aspect of life and the way we structure our lives. It's about securing, resources, saving up our resources, and ensuring that future generations also have the same resources that we have. And we're not doing really well with it, but there's, corporations are hiring more sustainability people and creating more sustainable programs. So, that kind of gives me hope, but I wish there was a little more, but definitely it does have to do with every aspect of our lives and really being mindful of how we use our resources.
That's a good answer. Okay, so the next question is that in Spanish person, how do you think your culture contributes to sustainability?
I think, well, my culture, honestly, I was raised in Honduras, where my parents are from. I was born here, but I was taken over there at an early age. And over there, I feel like that's when I first got, like, the flame started in me, but I didn't know it yet. And their practices when it comes down to garbage disposal are not the best. And I always told myself when I was a little girl, I was like, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna tell them a great strategy so they know what to do. And because, yeah, I always told myself that. And honestly, I never really thought about it until I'm here now. And I'm like, wow, like you really had it, like you really begun when you were small and you didn't even realize it. And I feel like it did, my culture did affect me to say, yeah, this is where you're supposed to go, even though I didn't realize it at first.
That's a good answer.
Yeah. So I think as a Hispanic person, I feel like my culture contributes to sustainability in some ways. In Colombia, they have a law that prohibits people from using plastic bags. Like grocery stores, they don't supply plastic bags. You have to bring your actual physical bags, which I think is something that we should apply here. Stefany, I don't think their waste, the way they manage their waste systems isn't too good. Because I've just from stories I've heard, I don't study, this topic, but a lot of the garbage would go into the major water streams and stuff, and then people would drink that water, and then they say, how did I get sick? And it's because of all the garbage that's leading down to their water streams and stuff. So, but I think overall, Colombia is the third country, so we don't contribute so much to climate change. So I think it really has to do with the people that are at the top. And sustainability, I think they're very mindful about sustainability, like how Daniela shared. My family, we always save those plastic bags. We always try to save water, our consumption around the household, because we don't have that amount of money to be just paying for high electric bills. And so I think we do try to save because we're very limited.
Yeah. Actually, I want to ask that. So, my parents are also Colombian, which be Colombia, and they my mom was raised in a really small village, so I had no electricity, any actual running water that we could run on the river. So that was our main resource. And since we didn't have since she didn't have electricity, she was more mindful of when she did have it, when it did come into town, she was able to turn on the light, turn on the TV, one TV that they had in the village. So I think that
very mindful, conservative.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
Also, and then like obviously like she's not that experience, so my dad, she's in the city, but he had a little bit more information. But my mom definitely brought that here to like instill that in us to be very like, mindful with like our race and also like with what we have and be grateful for it.
I do want to share a story. Now, you're just sparking like some stories that my parents had shared with me. But like my family, they had a farm and they would use the cow poop to create energy for like this, yeah, for gas maybe, like for the stove tops. I don't know. They would use it some way somehow to create energy. And you know, everything, all their food came from their farm, obviously. So I think there's sustainable farming there, you know, livestock and stuff.
It is, well, for me, the experiences I've had aren't bad. I feel like I've been very supportive in the field, just with all the professors that I've met and everyone that I have met. But it does get a bit intimidating because again, sustainability is new in the field. So I feel like not a lot of people have a lot of information from it. And I feel like one of the hardest critics literally are my parents, because again, even though we do practice sustainable, we do sustainable practices, like they still aren't educated on the topic. So when I did explain to my dad that I was like going from poli-sci to like sustainability, he was like, why are you doing that? Like, what is that? And I promise you, up till like maybe today, my parents have no idea what I'm doing. But I'm like, it's okay. It's okay that you don't know, because I will be saving your grandchildren. But it's okay that they don't know, because they still supported me and they still like told me like, you know, like they never once were like, okay, no, like you need to switch over. So I feel like that's very important. And but yeah, I haven't had any hardships, but again, it is intimidating because sustainability is new. And again, explaining this to like a corporation isn't as easy, and mostly coming from like a minority woman. You're just like, what are they thinking about me? They're probably like, this lady's crazy. But I do take every experience that I have and I try to learn from it. And I definitely do think that like being in sustainability and being a woman, like I love it.
Yeah. So just to add, that's kind of like the origin story of like this club. So I reached out to the heart because like I was having a hard time trying to explain to like my extended family what exactly I was studying, because in Spanish, like sustainability, there is a word for it, but it's like
Not
it doesn't,
it's
yeah,
not used.
it's not used at all.
Yeah.
Rarely ever used, and it doesn't translate like directly, and because people don't understand what that is, it's really hard for them to like understand what we're doing. And on top of that, like coming from like a different country, like our parents, not our parents, but like our extended family, like they really want us to like have the typical like
Lawyer,
lawyer, doctor, like type of job. And like when you tell them something completely different, like sustainability, like you're not gonna give me any money. So you better do that. So that's kind of like I told her, I told her about this. She's like, oh, she kind of like sparks an idea in me, and then that's when like I kind of reach out to Ariel and explain like it's just not specific. So yeah, that's what we're just saying. Good job.
Yeah,
Continue.
I'll make it brief, but I'm fortunate that I haven't had any hardships or struggles like related to like sustainability. But I'm like confused. Like, you mean like have I experienced like climatic disasters and stuff like that, or like just struggles in general?
Yeah, like finding like a job, or like
okay.
like you said before, like I'm excited about like talking to your family. Like, have you had like anyone that misunderstand you, or like,
Okay.
even just like not?
Oh, for sure. So my mom, she had no idea. My dad either. He was like, what is sustainability? Like sostenibilidad, nunca había oído. And so she had no idea. I still have to explain to her every single day what it means and what we do and how it applies to like our careers and stuff. But I think now that I'm a fourth year, I think she has somewhat of an idea of what I'm doing. But luckily I haven't experienced, any difficulties. Like at first, like freshman, sophomore year, like we're just freshmen, sophomores, a lot of people, they're like, oh, you can wait like until you're a senior to get your first job. So a lot of times they say, you're too young right now, you don't even know what you want to do yet, so they won't hire you. That's what happened to me in the career fair. I was like, oh, are you hiring interns, because I want to get some experience? And they're like, what do you want to focus on? And I was still young. I was like, I just want to do sustainability, So I guess that's a good advice, is to, when you go to career fairs and when you go to employers, make sure that you know exactly what you want and like what field you're interested in. If not, they're gonna be like, oh, look, I don't know where to put you. So yeah.
Perfect. And last question for both of you. What do you think is the biggest problem regarding the Hispanic community and building a sustainable community?
I would go back to what I said. I would say that the Hispanic community isn't really educated on sustainability. So I feel like that would be the first step to becoming a sustainable community. I feel like the city coming and just explaining it to their occupants, like what sustainability is and what we're really trying to achieve, and just trying to like get them to understand what sustainability is. I feel like that would really just help the community overall. I feel like they would have a good idea, and honestly, like it would just make them feel connected with like their neighbor and even the city, because they would be like, wow, like the city had time to come to me and like tell me what sustainability is and like what we're trying to achieve. So it's like they would feel like they're contributing to becoming a sustainable community.
The biggest problem, well, I feel like the lower half of the world, they suffer a lot with poverty, so I think that is really the biggest issue, is poverty, finding ways to feed their families, put a roof above their heads. I was fortunate, my family, they made pretty good money, and that's maybe how I got to this country. So, they had a farm. My grandpa was a lawyer, so he was able to provide for my family. But the majority of the population, they're suffering with poverty every single day, trying to find clean water, food, So I think that is the biggest problem regarding the Hispanic community, especially in like South America. And building a sustainable community, yeah, they just need to. It's a very complex topic, and I wish I had more knowledge about it. But I think that would be the first step in becoming a more sustainable community, is ensuring that people have a roof above their head, they have food and water to feed themselves and their families.
I agree. It is a very multifaceted. So it's not like one specific answer, because it also has to do a lot with the government and corruption, and just like having those basic resources and necessities, like you said, we think ahead to like continue on to build a sustainable community. And like begin that first step, like already being sustainable, and for the most part, those communities already are, because they have no other option. And it's like they have, and they have to recycle and use zero waste, just that they have to use. Most of them, especially in Latin America, don't live in the urban like areas. A lot of them are rural areas, so yeah.
And I feel like these countries would honestly be probably the easiest to become sustainable, because it's just like community. And like here, I feel like everything is like, I guess you could say urbanized. And like over there, like it's not. So I feel like talking to your neighbor is like I'm talking to Jackie. And I've been knowing Jackie for like a long time now. So I feel like over there, they're very comfortable. Like if one of you have ever visited like Latin America or anything down south, like you can see that they're very comfortable and like they're very nice people. So I feel like it would just be easy for them to turn sustainable, because they don't have to worry about just like like we have big infrastructure here, while like over there they really don't. And here, big infrastructure just contributes to like our emissions. So over there, like they don't really have that. So I feel like for them to be educated and just to know what their impact could do could really help.
All right, do you guys want to have any closing remarks and bring them in?
I'm really glad that I got to come in. I hope you guys enjoyed our stories. I would love to hear more from you guys. If you want to connect, maybe we can hang out some other time. And yeah, I mean, we pretty much said everything. I really enjoyed this.
I really enjoyed this too because I've never been asked like
Yeah,
what
for
it's
sure.
like to be Hispanic and in the sustainability community. Because honestly, like other than my UF friends, like I don't hear about like
Yeah.
sustainability and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It is.
All right, can you give a little round of applause? Thank you. Next, so these are just our upcoming events. So
This event is actually today, like right now in a couple minutes. It's a GBM with HSA and BSU. You should go. It's a little hall, it's really close. And then we also have the Unlittered and Ariel.
hello.
With colonialism and climate change. Yeah, show yourself on the Zoom. So yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's all. It's free to go. Free to talk. Yeah, thank you all. Thank you.